Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that film. As the chair of the board of the Philharmonic, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all this evening, and also to let everybody know a warm welcome to all those that are watching us live on Facebook. So we're really into the digital era, and there'll be many people sitting at home or in coffees or restaurants listening to this. So a very, very warm welcome to you all. Last night, at about this time, across the city, there was a great sense of anticipation. And what a result. But actually, I'm sure, like me, this morning, wasn't it a real pleasure to wake up, switch on the radio, look at the newspaper, and see Liverpool in the headlines for positive reasons? Well, obviously, we've got a lot of Liverpool fans here tonight, but tonight, I hope everybody here and listening wherever they may be also feel a great sense of anticipation. Because, dating back to 1840, as you all know, each year there is a launch of the next season. And tonight, you're here to listen to the programme, or hear about the programme for the next season, 2019-2020. Certainly from our point of view, and I hope you will feel likewise after you've seen the programme, that like Liverpool FC, you'll go away tonight with a spring in your step, and tomorrow morning we'll start to hear all the positive comments about the programme for the Philharmonic next year. But as you know, the great music, all the great events that come from the Philharmonic don't just appear. We are incredibly grateful to all the support that we receive. We're grateful to the great sponsorship that we have, and Michael in a few moments will say a little more, but as chair I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our supporters, the Arts Council, Liverpool City Council, those that have got difficult decisions to make in these particular times. Also, our two major partners, Investec and Liverpool John Moores University. But also, I'd like to thank all you for the support that you give us. So here we are on a Wednesday evening. You've got lots of things that you could do with your time, but you've chosen to be here with us this evening, listening to the next season's programme, and we thank you for that support. And we thank you for all the times that you come, supporting the great music, the great activities that take place in the Philharmonic. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all very much. I'd also like to thank Classic FM, and we have with us tonight Sam Jackson and Tim Lalharu, and you will be hearing more from Tim in a few minutes. But also, if I may, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Michael and his team. Michael as Chief Executive. In a few moments we'll be joined by Vasily as Chief Conductor. There are some analogies there with Liverpool FC. I'm not quite sure which one is Mo Salah and which one is Jurgen Klopp, but actually, in the end, what a great team. So I'd like to now welcome Michael to address you and give you a little bit more information about this evening and the next season's programme. But again, a very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for your continuing support.
Thank you very much, Nigel, and thanks again to all of you. I have to say, as a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, I have no sense of anticipation whatsoever. Or at least not about what's happening in Amsterdam, but I have a lot about what's happening here tonight. We are very excited. It's always a real moment for us to launch our next season, even though we haven't finished this one yet, and lots of great things still to come, including tomorrow night's concert. But it is a real moment. These seasons are planned over a long and extended period. So to, as it were, give birth to it, to use an appropriate analogy this week. Archie? is a real moment for us. So, just briefly, you've seen a short film which has given you a very brief taster of what's in store and what's in this season brochure. In a few moments, we'll have a panel chaired by Tim Lahoro from Classic FM and featuring a number of people from the organisation who Tim will introduce. They'll come on and they'll discuss the season and discuss the things that they've particularly picked out in a little more detail. At the end of the evening, you'll be able to leave and go into the foyer and be able to pick up a pack with all the information that you need. You can book tonight if you wish to, but absolutely there's plenty of time if you want to go away, digest what's there, and then come back. But before that, a few other things. As Nigel said, we're very grateful for the support of many people. Arts Council, Liverpool City Council, our many sponsors and donors. In particular, we have two very valuable partnerships with organisations which, like us, have a long history in Liverpool and indeed have a long history with this organisation. And that's Investec Wealth and Investment and Liverpool John Moores University. And here now is a very short film which says a little bit more about those partnerships and why they matter both to us and to those two organisations.
The relationship with the orchestra goes back to the mid-19th century when Rensburg & Co., which is now part of Investec Wealth and Investment, was founded by Henry Rensburg, who was one of the original patrons of the orchestra. The relationship we see more as a partnership and indeed a friendship. The principal partnership we have with the film really does reflect our long-term commitment in terms of both to the City of Liverpool and to our clients. Our business is built on trust. It is very important that we evidence our support for organisations with world-leading reputations in the cultural space. The economic value of culture and the city's cultural offering cannot be underestimated. It is important in that it drives both the visitor economy and also burnishes the brand of Liverpool internationally. To watch the city continue to build on that international reputation is very important for me personally and for our business, and supporting one of the best known cultural brands in this city is of huge importance to us.
The LJMU Foundation for Citizenship, of which I'm the director, oversees all the social engagement activity of the university. The Philharmonic in particular is of course a renowned artistic institution in the city, and we're fortunate that we have a partnership with the Philharmonic that works for both sides. And what we get to do is we get to provide an opportunity to our students, and you'll appreciate many of them have perhaps never been to a classical music concert, have never been exposed to certain cultural experiences, and so by having this relationship with the Philharmonic we're able to provide something that really many of them haven't had before. So the impacts of the partnership between LJMU and the Philharmonic range from the individual experience being enhanced to opportunities being provided to wider society who may not have otherwise had access to those opportunities. The partnership between LJMU and the Philharmonic has blossomed, and we've already seen the fruits of it with, for example, the joint PhD. But that's also given us an insight into the potential for the partnership, and so we're very much alive to the possibility of working together more and in areas that perhaps might not be obvious. So the values of LJMU very much chime with those of the Philharmonic, in that both are institutions of excellence, both are committed to wider society, and both are also very much alive to the benefits of working together and the impacts that that can have.
Well, thank you. I think if you listen to the comments made there by David and Zia, you'll have picked out that in addition, of course, to the great music produced over many years and and vastly at the moment world leading, music offers an opportunity not just to be inspired, but to engage future generations. And some of you maybe heard me on this topic in the past. I often quote Bobby Kennedy, who said that few individuals will have the greatness to make history, but every single person should be given the opportunity to try. Many of us have been fortunate. We've been given support in whatever form to be able to engage with the world, to be able to look up, look around, and yes, whilst accepting there are challenges, but also to see the positive aspect of life, communication and engagement. But not everybody has that opportunity. But through the medium of music, there is an opportunity to influence, inspire, motivate future generations who perhaps are not as fortunate as some. And I think the Philharmonic in its programme In Harmony has really made a big difference. So the words of Bobby Kennedy arguably make us think and reflect, but Bobby Kennedy did not mention how we address the issue of making sure that everyone has the opportunity to try to make history. But I would propose to you this evening that each one of you, in supporting the Philharmonic, many of you give your time, give funding, donations to supporting the In Harmony programme. I would put to you this evening that you directly have made a contribution to solving the challenge that was presented by Bobby Kennedy in the supporting the great work of the In Harmony educational programme. And certainly from a board's point of view, this is a very, very important strategic strand that we want to continue, we want to build upon, and we want to continue to deliver to change the lives of the next generation. And I'd like to invite Michael just to give you a little more detail about the great In Harmony programme. Michael.
As Nigel says, In Harmony is a very special and important project for us. We've been doing it for just over 10 years now. And we're going to show actually a short film. Some of you may have seen it before, but I hope you won't mind seeing it again. I've seen it many times and always enjoy it, which says a little bit more about the project. And it's just part of the work that we do beyond this concert stage. We have an extensive youth company with Liverpool Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, Youth Choir, a whole range of other kind of training and junior choirs and orchestras, and opportunities for young people at all levels and all abilities to engage in music. We have a programme also over 10 years old now, working with the Merseycare Mental Health Trust, providing musical experiences through our musicians for their service users, some of whom are dealing with really, really challenging health problems. And In Harmony provides deep and sustained music making and music involvement for the children and young people of North Liverpool. When we started 10 years ago, we had one primary school and 84 pupils. We're now in 3 primary schools and 2 nurseries in Everton and in Anfield, reaching 1,500 young people every week. And this work is absolutely fundamental to our vision of what an orchestra and what a music organisation like this should be in the 21st century, producing world-class excellence on this stage and on other stages in the UK and around the world, whilst also being deeply and meaningfully embedded and engaged with our local population and in our local communities. Liverpool is a fantastic city to do that in. It's a city which rewards us a lot for it, and it's absolutely fundamental that we give back to the city in that way. This tonight is, obviously we're talking, and you're going to hear more talk from the panel in a moment about the next season, but as a music organisation, we couldn't possibly have an evening like this without some music. So that's what we're going to do now. We've actually got two musical interludes, one in a moment and then another one a little later, which will finish the proceedings in this room. And as part of our 10th birthday celebrations for In Harmony, we held a reception in the Houses of Parliament with a number of MPs, members from the Lords and various other guests there. It was on one of the many days when the Speaker was causing a bit of a fuss in the House over Brexit. So it was an interesting time, kind of tripping over Laura Kuenssberg as you came in. It was very exciting. But it was a great event. It was a great opportunity for us to talk about this programme. And we had an ensemble, the ensemble you're about to see, who performed on that occasion. People really loved what they did. And so in a moment on this stage, we're going to show this short 2-minute film first of all, and then I'd like you to give a very warm welcome on stage to an ensemble we're calling the In Harmony Liverpool Chamber Stars. Young people and Liverpool Philharmonic musicians who have been involved in the programme. And they will be Aaron, Roxana, Jason, Joshua, Holly, Laura, Joshua and Daniel from the programme, with Royal Liverpool Philharmonic musicians, again, all engaged in the programme, Rod Skip, Sally Ann Anderson and Gwendolyn Cordron. So we're going to show the film first of all, and then please welcome the ensemble on to entertain you for 10 minutes or so, and then you'll hear from the panel. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
In Harmony Liverpool is an immersive music programme. We go into schools in North Liverpool, and we're very passionate that we're going to teach these children to play their instruments really, really well.
It goes way beyond music. It's not just about music. It's about way of life.
The reputation is that something special is happening here, but when you see it, you realise this is unbelievable.
Those kids just playing instinctively actually is what music is all about.
If you can play instruments, it's a gift for life. If you get the confidence, that's forever, isn't it? And that's what's happening with these kids.
They are introduced to instruments, they're introduced to song, they're introduced to moving to music from the very, very beginning of their lives. We want them to be able to use their instruments to come together to make something which is greater than the sum of its parts, and that something is the symphony orchestra.
I like the part when we get to play our instruments and sing songs all together. I like it because it's fun and I get to learn new things.
Before In Harmony, I was the little shy kid sat in the corner and speak to no one. It just gave me confidence.
It's not just about the music, it's the constant flow of having something to engage your brain in. Will push them onto whatever they want to do in their lives.
There's so much beauty and skill out there in our community, and this is actually just bringing it all out, isn't it?
They've been a massive impact on everything as a community, as families, especially in my own family. I can tell that for a fact.
I feel proud when I play the violin because not many people have the privilege of learning how to play an instrument. And I feel excited and happy at the same time because I like learning new things and doing different stuff each day.
We've started with 84 children. We are currently working with 1,500 children, and the aim is definitely not to stop here. We really want to see it expand, and we simply couldn't do this without the support of all our generous donors, and so we are so grateful to the support that they give us.
I think having such a programme like In Harmony is so important in areas like Anfield and Everton. Having music, it pushed me to be more ambitious and think of the bigger picture, to have the confidence to say, I want more, so I'm going to do it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The In Harmony Chamber players, weren't they? Fabulous, by the way, before we start. Can I just introduce your panel in front of you? Tonight you have Joanna Harris. Probably lots of people remember Joanna Harris from seeing her on this stage from the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Choir. You have everyone's favourite principal percussionist, Graham Johns. Here. Sandra Parr is the Artistic Planning Director at the Royal Liverpool Phil. And, of course, a man who needs no introduction, our maestro, Vasily Petrenko, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim Lioro. I thought I'd use my full name tonight. That's very kind of you. Thank you. My auntie's in. I'll use my full name, Tim Archie Harrison Lioro. What a coincidence, you wouldn't believe it. Can I just say personally, and everyone who knows Discover the Classics knows this, I love coming back here to Liverpool. In fact, everyone at Classic FM, it's our oldest relationship with any of the British orchestras, and I think it's fair to say, I know we're on Facebook at the moment, but it's the one we cherish the most. Everyone really loves the Royal Liverpool Phil at Classic FM. Also, tonight, I'd like to mention that we have, it may have been as Michael hinted earlier, it was a 4-0 night last night. It's a 5-0 night tonight because we have this. We have a year ahead of us, which is unlike anything else. From the Beatles, Elton John, Beethoven to Brooke, we have Mahler to Martineau, Berlioz to Britain. It's seasons within seasons, chamber seasons. There are concerts at lunchtime. There are new music seasons. It is all in here, and I know you're dying to hear about it, so I thought we would dig in straight away. Because running through this brochure, the backbone of this brochure, I think it's fair to say, of the 2020 season is Vasily Petrenko's Mahler. And Mahler 1, Mahler 2, Mahler 3, Mahler 4, Mahler 5, and Mahler 7. And Mahler 6. I missed Mahler 6. What's wrong with 6? I've got to say, Vasily, the last time you did Mahler on this scale, it's quite a while ago now, you did it across 2 seasons. This is all in one.
Well, we are improving.
I'm reminded of that amazing Mahler quote where he says, someone walks into his hut and says, look at this amazing view, and he says, yeah, some of it I haven't used yet. You are using it in this season, aren't you? You're really going for it.
For us, there was a long dream to repeat the Mahler cycle, by the time it will start, it will be 10 years since it has been performed here on the stage across 2 years. And I think it works better even in a shorter period of time. Because you can see the journey of Mahler, see the journey of his genius of symphonic genre across the symphonies and across many other pieces. There's also songs involved in it. There's many different aspects of his composer's genius in his heritage. And of course, for the orchestra to see the progression throughout the symphonies of the language of his universe, it's quite a remarkable journey. I think after him, probably nobody was ever so close in the genre of the symphony to the pinnacles of the whole composing excellence. Of course, you can name Shostakovich, who was quite close. Of course, you can name Prokofiev, who were quite close, but they were Russians. If you talk about the peak of genre of symphony, of course, you will think Mahler as one of the examples. And for us to be on this journey and to see how different we will be in 10 years since the last time, that will be... Actually, I have a very big expectations for the start of this cycle. It will continue then towards the autumn with remains of the symphonies, including number 8. And it will be the big and I hope very successful journey.
And that difference, that nearly 10-year gap, do you think it will be different for you? Because you're doing it over it's January to... Is it January to March? January to June, and then to December, yeah. I mean, that's quite a...
It always will be different. Of course, you know, I'm 10 years older now, so everything will be slower. But in fact, to see what have changed, 10 years ago, many of the symphonies were a first time for me. Now, as I've conducted all of them quite a few times, probably it has matured inside my mind more than 10 years ago, but at the same time to revisit the pieces which I have done a while ago and to see how differently, how better we can present the symphonies is always a challenge and always a great excitement. And of course to share the stage with a soloist, you can see Jennifer Johnson and Mia Persson, who will be our soloist for number two. And then also Jennifer will be in number 3, and also across the season in other programs. So to be on stage with such a great musicians and with such a great orchestra, it's always a pleasure.
And I can't see behind me because I have this funny crick in my neck, but Mia
Do
Persson,
you need you to twist around?
Would you wheel me out? Mia Persson is there as well from Mahler 2, coming back. They describe you, this is not my words, they describe you in the papers as a great Mahlerian. Do you think we are going up to the next level in this Mahler series here? Is this...
You know, I think every time we repeat something, we're going to the next level. To me, that's the only way to live, that's the only way to perform the music. Every time is to find the new horizons of excellence. And I think it's an endless process. You can find something to improve in every single performance, at least for us. And then we see for the next and next levels, and I hope that we will achieve that.
How long before do you have to leave it before you're allowed to do them all again?
1 year. No, but it's one of my favorite composers, and it's a Mahlerian. I found lately, a couple of years ago, apparently, I share one thing with Gustav, it's just birthday. He was, I think, one of the most ingenious conductors of all the time, one of the least compromising conductors. That's why he was sacked from most of the orchestras. And one of the most ingenious composers. He was trying to describe the whole universe and to give this universe, to gift this universe to the people, which he did.
It's interesting, that conductor's relationship with the composer. I'm going to go to the other principle, one of the threads of this next season, because of course the 250th of Beethoven falls in this next season. What an opportunity. How did you approach that as an opportunity to programme?
Well, we have a lot of music of Ludwig van, but we decided not to go with a full cycle of his symphonies, as it was a while ago, 3 seasons ago, when we have done it, not in 2 years, not in 1 year, but in 2 weeks. So for us, this time, I will do number 5 and number 6, which we also will bring into Barbican and into the Sage. So this is a project which is not only here in Liverpool, but which goes beyond in London and in Gateshead, and which hopefully will be part of the large worldwide celebration of genius of Beethoven.
And it goes through some of the chamber concerts and the close-up concerts as well.
There's plenty of chamber concerts, there's plenty of close-up concerts, but actually we start tomorrow. Because tomorrow on this stage we perform the first Beethoven piano concerto with Boris Gilbert, which is a part of the whole cycle of concertos which we will record with him in a few months, and which will be also part of our big Beethoven celebration.
Sandra, if I might, Andrew Manzi is back as well for this season of the Beethoven.
He certainly is, yes. Our choir like a challenge, and they have the Mrs. Solemnis with Andrew Manzi next year coming up in February, which we're looking forward to very much. As Vasily just mentioned a moment ago, we felt we didn't want to repeat putting all the symphonies of Beethoven into one space. We've been there and done that with Vasily, so we've shared it out a bit. As you mentioned, throughout the close-up concerts, throughout the chamber concerts, even our youth orchestra is going to be doing Beethoven First Symphony with Andrew Manzi in one of their concerts. And there's a range of his works, from trios through to symphonies, and we can't compete with many of the German orchestras who are doing wall-to-wall Beethoven throughout the year. We're sprinkling it. We're having a bit of a burst around January, February, and we'll come back to it at the end of the year, in December, when the 250 year ends.
And for something completely different, if I might, while you're talking, the artists in residence for this season.
Yes, we've started over the last 6 or 7 years now at having an association with artists. We often feel when they arrive and they play a concerto and they go away again, that's it, and they're itching to do more, we're itching to hear more and find out more about them. So we started having the Artists in Residence series so we could explore what they've got to offer, and we've had some fantastic relationships growing out of this. One of the artists we've got coming next year is actually returning for a second year, which is Sheku Cannon Mason. We started that relationship last year. Very fruitful one. He loves being in Liverpool. We love having him here. He'll be working with our youth orchestra as well as the big orchestra as well. So it'd be good to carry on. He'll be doing a recital. Some of you may have been here last year when we had to move from the music room because we physically couldn't fit any more people in. We had to move back into the hall with 1,300 people for a cello recital on a Friday evening. So by public demand, if I may, we're going to do another cello recital with him next year as well. But we have a second new artist in residence coming on board for 18 months starting in September. She will be familiar with many of the audience who were here for our Spirit of Christmas concerts last December. Jennifer Johnson is a local girl. In fact, she cut her teeth sitting in the choir stalls in our Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Choir for many years. Went off to become a lawyer and then decided she still had this massive voice, and so is now on the International Opera stage. And so she's going to be our artist in residence starting in September through to December 2020. Amazing range of things that she's doing, recitals both here in the music room, down at St George's Hall in the concert room. As Vasi's already said, Mahler 2, Mahler 3. She'll be singing in Beethoven 9 with Natalie Stutzman conducting, which I think would be quite a challenge for her because, of course, Natalie Stutzman is also of the same voice, so that'll be a challenge for her. And it would just be great to see the range of things that she'll offer. Jenny quite often appears at our choir rehearsals to help them, doesn't she, Jo? With workshop issues like breathing and stage presence. So it'd be really good to have her at home for this time and to explore various things with her.
And there's a lovely Messiah in there as well, is that?
Yes, so there's a Messiah in there. We've got her really, really busy. She's doing lots of things. She really is. And she's also, I think Jo will mention it a little bit later, bringing out a CD as well during the course this year. But she's a fabulous partner to work with here in Liverpool.
That leads me very nicely in Jo, if I might. Lots of you are probably familiar with Jo's face because she sings here with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Choir. I forgot to ask Jo, are you a soprano or an alto?
I'm an alto.
Oh. You're, obviously, my principal concern is that the Spirit of Christmas with one John Suchet will, of course, be happening again this season. And you'll be in that with Ian Tracy, is the indomitable Ian Tracy back? Can you tell me something about where else we can see the choir?
Oh, well, we are starting our season in November with the Spring Symphony, Benjamin Britten's Spring Symphony. A joint project with the youth choir, actually, which I think will be fun. They always bring something special to the performances. There's something very energetic about them. And a conductor we've not worked with before, Richard Farnes, who I think until recently was music director at Opera North. So a very vocally orientated conductor, which I think will be good for us. And then we move on to Spirit of Christmas, and then Messiah, of course. There's always Messiah. But again, this time we've got a new conductor working with us, Sophie Genin, who's lead conductor with the BBC Singers. So, and then again, they've got a very different vocal style from us, so that could be a very interesting production. And then we move on to Beethoven, Mrs. Solemnis, which you've already mentioned in February with Andrew Manzi, who's always a great favourite with the choir. He's a sweetheart. And then we move on to the Mahlers, Mahler 2 and 3, in fairly close succession. So February and March are looking fairly busy. So if any of you out there are relatives of the choir, you're going to be missing us for about 6 weeks.
Mahler 3 is massive, isn't it? Choirs, youth choirs, hundreds of trumpets. It must be wonderful in this hall. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, cowbells.
And cowbells, more cowbell. Absolutely.
As long as we get a good turnout and not too many cases of tonsillitis, we should be able to cope.
If there's anybody who wants me to give a hard stare, to just mention it. And of course, the Ode to Joy.
Ode to Joy, yes, another familiar work, and another familiar conductor, Natalie Stutzman. Again, a very vocally based conductor. She always brings something different from previous performances, and personally I've only ever sung this work with Vasily before, so that'll be interesting, compare and contrast.
Am I right in thinking? I go back to Cambridge tomorrow, it's fine. Am I right in thinking there's a mini-me Harrison on this stage occasionally? Is that right?
Oh, yes, yes.
It's not in the youth choir, is it?
No, she's in the children's choir.
Your daughter?
She's 10, yes.
Oh.
We were fortunate enough to do a concert together earlier this year. The children's choirs were premiering a work by Gary Carpenter, and at the last moment they asked some adults just to bulk out the sound a bit. So we were on the stage together. It was brilliant.
Oh. Sandra, that youth orchestra and the youth chorus, it's a really important part of what goes on in this season, isn't it? With Sheku working with them, etc. as well.
It is. The activity of the youth company is massive. It just really is. There's something happening almost every day within this organisation, either here in the Philharmonic Hall or in Anfield or Everton or somewhere else in the city. It's quite amazing how much our colleagues actually do get done in the learning team. I can't remember all the statistics, so I won't misquote them, but it's thousands and thousands of children who are involved in music every week, thanks to Liverpool Philharmonic. And our own youth choir are going to be obviously singing in Mahler 3, they'll also sing in the Spring Symphony. They rehearse every Monday evening, and they work really, really hard, as do the children's choir. The youth orchestra meet occasionally throughout the year for 3 main concerts in the year. In their first concert, they're going to be doing an overture by William Alwyn, whose music you may not know unless you know some film music, and the William Alwyn Trust actually is supporting that concert for the youth orchestra, which is fantastic news. And for those of you who see Robin Haggart sitting up there blowing a tuba at the back of the orchestra, he's going to be standing there playing Vaughan Williams' tuba concerto with the youth orchestra as well, so that'll be interesting for them. Andrew Manzi will bring Beethoven, as I've mentioned, and in the summer they will give a concert in July, which is quite a varied programme, including a work by Mason Bates called Mothership, which is complete with lights, and a great foot tapping programme for them. So quite a busy year for the youth orchestra.
Vasily, if I might come back to you, one of my passions, and running right through this season, is new music. In fact, one of the Discover the Classics coming up is with Danny Howard, who Classic FM were lucky enough to work with just a couple of years ago on Argentum. She's back, isn't she? Can you tell me a bit about that? Have you got the score yet?
No, of course, it's a new music. I think most of it is not yet exist. It's writing at the moment. But it is very important and vital for me to perform as much of the new music as possible, because if we won't give a chance, who will? Only time and you will decide over the years what piece deserves to be a masterpiece and what piece will be neglected. But to be able to decide it, we need to perform it, and you have to listen to it. Otherwise, it's all very virtual and nobody knows what's going to happen. So for that, I'm very glad that we have quite a range of the new pieces commissioned, premieres. Even at the start of the season, actually, for the opening night, the very first piece will be by Danny Howard, I hope so. And we will perform the new music throughout the season, and it always was my passion. However, I always trying to encourage as many people as possible to come and to listen to it. So we always try to program it in a way that you can equally appreciate the new premiere as, for instance, very familiar symphony by Tchaikovsky. If you are seeing the new and probably less familiar name on the poster, please don't be afraid. Feel that this is a sense of discovery. To me, and I've been in many premieres, to me this is always a privilege to be one of the first people who hear the piece. There's many, many, many memories of the people who have heard Ninth Symphony by Beethoven for the very first time, which was, as most of the premieres, rather controversially appreciated. However, all of them were remembering that with big pride and with a big joy that they were at the ode to joy hearing it for the very first time. So for us to perform the music for the very first time, it's also a big step and big joy and big challenge. We're always up for it, and we always go for it.
Yeah, let's hear it for new music. It's called Coalescence, that first piece. There's also some amazing titles, very much a Liverpool favourite, Kenneth Hesketh, Uncoiling the River. Now that sounds an absolute corker. Again, presumably not in yet, not...
He's uncorking them.
And everyone's favourite horn guru, Tim Jackson, a new piece from him too. Probably later in the season, I think that is, isn't it?
Ensemble 10.
In the ensemble. Yes, yeah. Fabulous. I love the way. What I love is the fact that the audience that come to the Liverpool Phil, they know, they trust you to programme this wonderful music alongside all the stuff that they truly have known for years and years. But also, just in case, Sandra, his face is flashing behind me, and Andre Previn, the late Andre Previn, will probably flash past us at some point. Now, he is in the season as well.
Yes.
It's probably worth mentioning why and how.
To explain this, we had a co-commission of a new work from Andre promised to us 2 years ago. And everything indicated it might have already been written or at least started. When we had the sad news that he'd obviously passed away quite recently, we weren't quite sure what was going to happen. It was the day before this season brochure was going to print. And we were in a quandary, do we leave it in the brochure or not? We found out that the piece we had been promised hadn't been written, but that there had been another piece which had yet to receive its UK premiere. So we're going to be hearing in October a piece called Can Spring Be Far Behind, which has been already done in America but has never been done in the UK. So, bless him, we will get our UK premiere in the end.
That is lovely. That's
post-Thomas.
So, lovely title.
Yes, we're very pleased about that. But it's sad that there's a character who I certainly grew up with watching on television, very influential composer. The other composers, if I just may possibly mention, the other two gentlemen to the right just here, are both writing trumpet concertos for Pacho Flores. Now, for anyone who was here for the In Harmony birthday weekend, Pacho was our artist in residence for that entire weekend. Fantastic trumpet player. And he's got lots of crazy plans when he comes to Liverpool, including doing 2 premieres of 2 trumpet concertos in one concert.
Wow.
So I draw your attention to them as well. Carmel Smickerskill, who's at the top there, is writing a piece for Ensemble 1010. She's the winner of our Christopher Brooks Prize for this coming year. Wow. So a lot going on. And a great audience. They support us enormously, and we have a fantastic reputation for supporting new music, not because we do it, but because you listen, so thank you.
Can I just say I'm marvelling at your retention of facts. That's why I need my brain cards here. Mine just doesn't function in the same way. Graham, I think it's fair to say I introduced 4 members of the panel here. There are actually more members of the panel to your side. They are part of the Forever Bells. Would you, for anyone who doesn't know what that means, would you just dig into what Forever Bells are?
Right, well, anybody who knows me knows that I'm rather besotted with bells, and I have been since I was a teenager as a bell ringer in Christchurch, New Zealand, and as a percussionist, and I think I'm in good company with every other percussionist, that we all want to use real bells whenever possible, and composers over the centuries have written, in all innocence, parts for bells, and possibly most of them not expecting their performances to include a real bell, because, let's be honest, they're heavy, they're expensive, and where do you keep them? So it's an amazing, really a privilege for me as a percussionist that we have this incredible collection of bells, which began in 1993, with the Friends of the Phil helping us purchase 4 bells. But in the last year, we've acquired a further 10 bells with the generous support of our wonderful donors. And we've called them the Forever Bells as a sort of catchy title, but also they're going to be around forever. And the donors who've helped us out have actually got their names on the bells, which is... they're going to be there forever. So it's a wonderful project, and it comes to a climax really in September, when we're going to be performing the Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique. Now, you all know that piece, I'm sure, and you will have heard it performed here many times, and over the years we've used all sorts of solutions to the bell problem, if you like. And without real bells, we've used tubular bells, which we use a lot, and still do and still will, because composers write specifically for tubular bells as well as real bells. And we've had other solutions like bell plates, and luckily for us, we were the very first orchestra in the UK to buy a G and a C bell for the Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique. Now, the problem was, and is, that Berlioz wrote for a very low G and C, and we could only afford a small G and C. It's still a G and a C, and they're beautiful, and I love them. But if we want to play these pieces correctly, as we really should, and there's only a handful of orchestras in the world that can play them properly. We've got the New York Phil, we've got the Concertgebouw, we've got the Berlin Phil, and I've always thought, why should they have all the fun? And to be honest, it's a dream of mine to have the correct bells for these pieces that composers like Strauss and Mahler and Mussorgsky and Benjamin Britten have written for. And we're the first orchestra in the UK, and probably will remain so, to own such a collection of bells. Now, we're going to have this G and C, they're massive. I mean, we're talking 850 kilos for the G. Now, it's not far short of a ton. The C bell's about 350. It's more manageable, but, it's all of that and more in terms of weight. They're going to be cast in June 6 and 7, and we're getting the work done in Holland. Sadly, the very first bells we got were made by Whitechapel, but sadly they're no longer with us. They've gone out of business after 450 years, which is very sad. And so we're having them made in Holland, and the most exciting thing for me is that Vasily Petrenko is going to have his name on the C bell as a gesture of gratitude for all the wonderful work he's done for us in what will be 15 years. And I'm very excited by that, and I know you are too, because you're going to be the first. So, I'll wrap up by just saying that on the other side of the bell, some generous donors are having their names cast on the bell as well, and it's yet to be cast. But I can tell you that there's an opportunity for any of you to have your names on the bell. And you have literally 24 hours to let us know.
He's serious. That is a 24-hour window, isn't it?
Serious.
To get your name on this bell.
Because once it's done, it's there forever. And seriously, if you are, there is a catch. But if you want to think about it, let me or any of the team know, or give us a call by Friday morning. And also, there's a trip to the Foundry to see them cast as well. You can decide that next week. But if you want to come and watch them being cast, we've got a nice little group already. That's going to be so exciting.
Fabulous.
I'm glad you asked me that, Tim. Are you glad?
I am very glad, yeah. Fabulous. I'm wondering if I can afford an initial or something. I don't know. Graham, while I've got you, can we touch on some of the there's a lot of films coming back here to the Phil, and you'll be involved in some of the film performances?
Yes, yeah. Well, we've got this reputation now for doing, around New Year's, these films with orchestral accompaniment, the big screen and full orchestra, and we've done it for many years now. And I don't know if you were here for films like Pirates of the Caribbean or anything like that. The most amazing experience for us to do. We can't watch it, we're playing, but we've got click tracks on, and that particular one, we had one of the biggest percussion sections of any film we've ever done. But we've got Ghostbusters coming. I think we're doing Ghostbusters. And what was the other one?
Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz, which we've done before, and they're wonderful scores. And of course, the percussion have a big role to play. Generally, our role as percussionists is one of we're the salt and pepper, we're the herbs and spices, and we've got the chef here to control the recipe. And if you get the balance right, it's wonderful. So really come to those if you possibly can.
Could I just add to that? Because right at the beginning of the season, for those of you who've got any children or grandchildren and want to bring them to the Philharmonic, of course we have fantastic family concerts here, but right at the beginning of the season we're doing the Gruffalo and Gruffalo's Child with orchestra.
It's not for my family, it's for me. I'd just love to do it.
You don't have to bring a child.
Exactly.
You can sneak in at the back somewhere.
And also, I mean, we really haven't got time, but there are, as I mentioned at the beginning, seasons within seasons in this season. There's a dementia-friendly series of concerts in there. There's the instrument petting zoo. I mean, we really haven't got time to go into this, but there is everything in here. Glyndebourne is screening here. There's a mini careers festival in here. It just really is quite an amazing... I think I'm going to have to wrap it up. Forgive me. There is so much, ladies and gentlemen, in this brochure, as you'll discover for yourself. Don't forget, you don't have to do everything tonight, but do pick up your subscription brochures and your packs. They'll be outside, there'll be people in the foyer. You can do it online as well, but there are people here to do the booking tonight. If you wish, the box office will be open. Can I just say as well, because we're here in Liverpool, the breakfast show will be coming live from Liverpool tomorrow, so do get yourself a mention if you wish. I'm going to fill it as full as I can with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra recordings. Right now, any moment, there's going to be cake and bubbles, so that's wonderful, in the Grand Foyer Bar. But for those of you who are going to be disappointed that that piano is not there for me to knock out You'll Never Walk Alone right now, I shouldn't really tell you why it is there. I'm going to leave that to Vasily to say why it's there.
First of all, thank you, Tim, for all that. And look into the brochure, look into the next season, but please don't forget, we still have quite a lot of concerts in this season, including actually some movie concerts with music of John Williams, with some video footage. Yes, and I have to put all the recipes right. But also tomorrow night we start the Beethoven piano concerto cycle with Boris Gilberg, who apparently will not play You'll Never Walk Alone on this piano, but who will play some surprise pieces for you. We just finished rehearsals a couple of hours ago, so please forgive him for the casual wear, as you would put it. I hope you all will enjoy it as well as the rest of this season and 1920 season. Thank you very much.
worked with many times. We're thrilled to be doing the Beethoven piano concertos with him and looking forward to tomorrow night's performance. That's the end of the formal proceedings of this evening. Please do join us in the foyer. Your brochures and a glass of bubbly await you. Thank you very much. I hope you like what you see in the brochure.